Okay, I'm gonna try running the game now, and
Excellent.
we're gonna see whether my whole setup worked.
Oh, I'm stoked. All right, I'm ready to join.
All right, the server is running.
157-131-25164. I'm not getting anything on join.
Duh. Maybe
157-131. Yeah, that's what I'm joining. Port 777.
yes.
Same port. That's good because I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I'm not sure I connected the port UI to to the actual thing.
What if I were to ping myself?
Yeah.
Wait, if I just have a server listening on the port, it's not gonna
If I go to
it's
this
not gonna
URL,
respond to pings, right?
no.
I would need a server that would actually know how to respond to the pings. I could at
Yes.
least like try to connect, right? I could telnet in. Was it
Yeah.
157.131.251.64?
Mm-hmm.
Is that how this works?
Yep. Hmm.
I think I have to specify the port differently.
Hmm.
This is not a very good.
Oh, with the space.
Okay, yeah. It doesn't look like it was working. So maybe I changed IP addresses when I switched Wi-Fi networks.
Oh, for whatever got DMZ'd or something. Yeah.
What's my IP? But I did try to bind the MAC address to the IP. How do I find out my IP? Is it
Uh, I just open system preferences.
yeah? Uh, yeah. This looks like the run. Anyways, we're not gonna be able to do multiplayer tonight.
Well, damn. Hmm. I guess. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What is my IP?
Oh, it's because I didn't restart my router, I think. Does that make sense? Does it seem reasonable that like any kind of configuration change requires a restart on a router?
I expect the router to like restart itself when it does that, though. Right? Does it not?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, you could try hosting.
I was gonna say, I'll start the server. You want to try joining this one?
I can.
All right. Let's see what we got. Uh, so I am
Yeah.
38.126.98.197.
And you have already started the game as a server?
I am started. Yeah.
Okay.
Fuck.
I had such high expectations. I clicked the button. I was like,
The
the internet is hard.
internet is so hard,
Turns
and
out to be pretty difficult.
getting one computer to talk to another computer is just a nightmare. I don't know why it's a nightmare, but it's a nightmare.
We should all just have public IPs on in IPv6.
Hmm.
Well,
Let's.
anyways, let me show you what's going on with the game now.
Okay. Oh yeah. Go
Oh,
for it.
wait. Before that. Um, so I have been playing Metroid Dread.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think? It's weird, right? It's goofy.
It's actually less weird than I thought it was gonna be. I'm
Yeah.
having a good time with it.
It's still
Um,
Metroid. It's still extremely Metroid.
yes. How you beat it?
I did. I 100%ed it.
Oh, okay. Are there like different endings? Do I have to 100% it?
No, I don't think there's different endings. I think it's that's just the Metroid thing. It's like you beat it and
There
then you
are
get all items.
some of those like speed
Yes.
puzzles where I just don't want to have to like run and then drop a bomb and then wait for the bomb to explode and then
They
speed
went
through it.
they went so hard on those. Holy shit. It's ridiculous. Um
Yeah.
yeah, I figured them out and then I like googled it and I was like, did I get the puzzle right? And I confirmed I got the puzzle right. I was like, okay, cool. I will try this like 3 more times.
Yes. Um, the last game, I don't know if this is just an artifact of like that old school sensibility of game design, but the last game that felt like that to me was what's it called? Uh, Crosscode. Crosscode also kind of like a modern game, but sort of throwback gameplay.
I mean, this has been
I think I told you about
one
this
of your
game before.
favorites. Yeah, you've told me about this game a lot of times because you loved it.
Yeah, it was really good. I really it was one of my it was like a number 7 of 2020.
Yeah,
And so it's high up there. It
I
has a lot in that game, and it's inspiring how much they were able to fit in that game.
I would
But
describe it. You were just very effusive while playing it, which I thought was excellent.
yeah,
It sounded really really fun.
um, there's a lot of like really obtuse, like
Mm.
precision gameplay in that,
Hmm.
where the level design gets a like pretty over the top and awkward.
Hmm.
And I don't know why that's a bad thing. It's just
Did you see the video of the one guy? Maybe it was like the God of War designer or something who was like really upset at Metroid that there was like a hidden block to progress the game.
there are a few of those.
Yeah, but also like it's Metroid. There's always a hidden block to progress the game.
Yeah, I think when you fight Kraid
Hmm.
in Super Metroid, you have to like roll through a tiny corridor.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of like a claustrophobia nightmare
Hmm.
where you like roll through this tiny like you like bomb something and then you roll through and then you're dropped into this giant room. And they brought that back in Metroid Dread. Um, for the Kraid boss, no less.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it's pretty solid. I don't know if it's better than Super Metroid. I think mostly because of the tone.
Super
Um,
Metroid. I mean, do you feel the same way I felt about the music, which is that it is lacking deeply, even for Metroid?
so you're talking about the music in Metroid Dread,
In Dread, yeah,
right?
it's like absent.
It's I don't know. Like I think the boss fights, especially like the Emmy, like emergency music when it's like the Emmy is chasing you in alert
It's
mode,
pretty good, yeah.
is sufficiently annoying, right? Like it's appropriately grating. Um, and otherwise, I do think that the music is a little bit unnoticeable, but I'm not sure if the music is great in Metroid as a series in general. But I think what I could say about the music is similar to what I would say about the graphics, which is that both the graphics and music are less good in the transition to an HD console. I guess the Switch technically isn't HD, but you know what I'm saying.
It's HD, isn't it?
I think Metroid plays in 720p on the TV.
Oh, okay. Nine hundred.
900p.
Man, Nintendo really just like every time they're just like, we're gonna do a little less resolution than everyone else because the GameCube and the Wii did that
I don't
too.
think the Switch has 1080p, does it?
Oh, yeah, it's 1080p.
I guess it depends on what game, right? Okay. At any rate, there's something about the tone that isn't quite as good because it's HD.
Yep.
And the music is I would say a similar thing about like when it's a little bit FM synthesis ish on the Super Nintendo, it feels really tight.
Yeah, strongly agree. But it was a great Metroid game.
It's been really good.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the second out of three or the third out of I don't know how many metamorphoses of the last boss. So
Oh.
I got through the first part and
Yeah.
the second part where you have to parry him to hurt him.
Oh, I hate it. Yeah.
And then the third part when he has wings, I got to it once and I was like still trying to figure out what the patterns are.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
How fucking awful is the parry in this game? It's really bad.
I don't love it.
No.
Um, there's a few things I would say about Metroid that I think are misses. The
About
parry,
Dread specifically.
yes,
Yeah.
about Dread specifically. The parry is like, I guess it's okay. I like it a lot less in QTE form. You know, like in those little like boss cutscenes where you have to parry like 2 times in a row or 3 times in a row. I bet they had to like I bet they initially wanted you to parry like 5 things in a row. Like I bet they had that, and then they had to like tone it down in playtesting.
I would have thrown the
But
console.
as it is, it doesn't feel like it adds to the game.
Yeah. I feel
But it does kind of like it does kind of raise the stakes of like, you have to kind of fight flawlessly in the boss fights and then parry.
so. I really like the way it works for the Emmys, where it's like you can get out of this very tricky situation with perfect timing, but otherwise you just die.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was appropriately punishing because they don't kick you back that far.
Yeah.
But man, in some of the boss fights, especially that particular one, like at the end, I hated it so much.
There's some other control related things that I find to be a little bit annoying.
Claw grip, so much claw grip.
I haven't had to claw grip yet.
Okay.
Maybe there's a thing that like I'm not doing that requires claw grip, but I've so far only needed to do. I've been dreading the claw grip, and again, I got to the last boss without having to do it. So there may be a technique that I'm missing. I think everything about uh, the speed boost and the shine spark like feels lacking. Like the fact that you have to press down, the fact that you have to click the left stick to activate it.
Yeah.
Some of those speed boost puzzles, I didn't know how to finish until I looked online how to activate the speed boost while you were jumping. And the technique that somebody said in a YouTube comment somewhere was to press shoot and jump at the same time while you're not holding the stick down, and that will immediately like
Whoa.
and that was the only way that I could do it while jumping.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I think shooting gets you out of the spin, right? Because normally you're spinning while you're jumping.
That's really helpful, and I spent way too long doing it a dumb way.
I don't know what the dumb way is because you have to speed boost while you have to like do the launch while you're jumping like numerous times in those puzzles.
I think I stopped and then jumped vertically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. So the distinction between the vertical jump and the spin jump has always been annoying in Metroid. Like I remember that being annoying in Super Metroid.
Yeah.
And
Long-term series problem.
it's a long-term series problem. It's a big problem in this game because you have to fly a lot and you have to double jump a lot. And there are times when I'm just trying to double jump over a boss, and like I'm clearly doing the somersaults, and she doesn't double jump, and I'm like, this is really annoying, you know. Especially because so many of the boss fight mechanics are about jumping over the bosses, right?
Yeah, something about the double jump in particular felt mistimed, which I thought was interesting. I struggled with that at certain points too. And once you got the whatever the infinite jump is, it got
The space jump, yeah.
The space jump, I was like, okay, fine, I get it. But double jump was like never felt right the whole time.
I know what you mean. Somehow it's worse when you can only double jump once. But like very frequently, like every other double jump in like every other game is like you jump any direction, you tap it again, you jump again. Like it's not complicated, and yet somehow in Metroid Dread,
there's like a dead
they
zone.
needed to make it annoying.
It's like you can't jump immediately after jumping, so you can like miss your double jump, which yeah, I think that is unique.
Yeah, it's frustrating, right? It doesn't feel like it serves the game. There are like a couple of moments where the distinction between like, I don't know why you wouldn't always want to double jump, but you don't always want to screw attack, right? Like there are times when you just like, if you screw attack, you'll destroy the block that you want to land on, something like that. But those are just like, there's like 1 or 2 moments where that matters.
Yeah.
And so the fact that there's a distinction just to justify those 1 or 2 moments, it feels like an ergonomics miss. It feels like they were trying to be pure about it for some arbitrary rule. At least I haven't been able to come up with a mechanical justification for not making the double jump or space jump easier in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. The green screen is a cat toy. This is not expected. But maybe
I think I see Bandit crawling around back there.
Maybe I should have expected this, but Shoot.
It's fantastic though.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
fine.
it brings the stream to a new level.
Yeah, atmospheric. Um, yeah, I think I was. It was interesting because there was a lot of buttons they added to this Metroid. Like
Oh yeah,
they
yeah.
added the slide, and they added the 360 aim. And I feel like I could have played it without both of those. Maybe, or like always be 360 aiming. Like having to hold a button down for that is really what fucked me up. I thought that was just terrible. Like just make it a twin stick.
Yeah, I at the point that I'm in the game where I'm like maybe 70 or 80% of all the collections and um at the last boss, I still get the bumpers mixed up when I want to aim 360.
100%. It
What
never
is the
it never gets better. Left bumper is
Yeah,
aim.
what is left trigger in that game?
Left trigger is slide.
Yeah, I don't like it.
No, I was talking about the claw grip. There's like so much. All four bumpers and triggers you have to use a lot.
And what is circle?
Air dash?
Yeah, they should have made circle like the normal slide and duck.
Mm-hmm. And then up, triangle, whatever it is parry. Another new button. There's like things that were on the face button in past Metroids that I think confuse me in this one.
Yeah. Although I do think that one of the very interesting things that they improved was that there is no there's no state machine. How do I say this? There's no like option selection for what you can do. It's always like a button combination on the controller. Which I think is a very, very interesting design choice for the UI.
As opposed to having a weapon switch button.
That's exactly how Super Metroid works, right?
Right.
You switch between
Missile,
you
super
switch
missile.
between guns
Yeah.
and you switch between missile or regular shoot. And I think in Super Metroid you can turn various pieces of the suit on or off depending on like what you need at that moment.
Oh. Yeah, I think you're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I would have
And then
loved
if
that
you
in this
want,
game,
like,
actually. That would have been
and
great.
if you want like bomb regular bomb versus super bomb or whatever they call it, I think you hit the select button on SNES, and then again it's like a weapon switch just for the bomb. And I think that was actually a really really interesting and inspired choice for them to kind of like play with that a little bit. You couldn't stack different weapon modes in Super Metroid.
That's
like
right,
it was always like choosing between different types of guns. And the fact that they stack,
right, like the wave beam and the wide
improvement.
the wave beam and the wide beam all do
Yeah.
like things load up on each other. That is pretty cool.
Yeah. So I thought that was actually really interesting. They like you could tell that they had like a very deliberate mandate not to have kind of like a weapon switch, and they wanted everything to be like a chord.
But so I when they said no weapon switch, instead they had these like buttons that when you held them longer, they did different things, which I really don't like. I don't know why, but that like the missile into multi-missile and the bomb into cross bomb into power bomb, I thought was just strange.
Right.
I mean, to be fair, I beat the game 100% of it and it all worked, so like maybe it was fine.
I did spend a lot of time like my like right hand would get sore because I was like constantly holding down the multi-missile button, because that's the only way you can beat some of the bosses, right? Is you multi-missile jump over them.
It's like super necessary, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like it didn't quite make sense to me that multi-missile was hold down until I got the power bomb, and I was like, oh, this is the same modality as the other thing, because I was like trying to trigger it and I couldn't really figure out how to trigger it.
Yeah. So I don't know, is this a cautionary tale? Because I kind of like the idea of having charged weapons in the game that we're making, but I don't know how far we should take that. We already have like weapon wheels and stuff like that, right?
Like I think charge is okay. Because like I have no complaints about the charge shot on the main cannon.
Right.
And if I switched to missile mode, I'd have no complaints about holding down the same fire button. I think it's like having to hold down multiple buttons for different things is really what sort of is weird.
Yeah, it's almost fighting game like what they were able to do with the controls,
It's true.
which is either a good or bad thing, right? But I
It's
thought it was a very interesting way to design the UI.
and it's definitely the most dynamic and fast moving Metroid I've ever played, which
Oh
like
yeah,
actually was really cool. Like it was super fun, and I thought all the movement options for the Emmy stuff worked great. Like evading those suckers and like sliding and cloaking and sort of was zipping around the environment was really excellent.
yeah. I heard a lot about how difficult the boss fights were in this game, and so I was kind of like steeling myself
Hmm.
for it. And they are harder than other Metroid games, but I also feel like it's super fair. And once you get the pattern, it's not that bad,
Hmm.
right?
I was gonna say I played some of it handheld, some of it on the fucking puppy controller, and some of it on the pro controller, and everything but the pro controller was miserable.
Okay, yeah, I could
Um,
totally imagine that.
yeah, like I couldn't beat Kraid in handheld or with the individual paddles until I got the pro out.
There, I think the boss that was my least favorite
Hmm.
um, was the one that is in. It's actually in the coolest part of the game, because like Metroid has this kind of like basically non-linear structure where it's
Hmm.
just open world, but also kind of like fairly formulaic in the way
Hmm.
that like it's put together. Um, but there's this one part once you get the gravity suit where the whole game like freezes,
Oh, I love that.
and
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
actually
yeah.
able to like overlay like a miniature version of the map over the existing world map because they were able to like freeze all the water and close certain doors.
Hmm.
Um, and so all the encounters are different. So that was like kind of like a really interesting. It reminds me of like Zelda games where you go back in time, and now you're looking like at a slightly like askew version of like the world that you were familiar with
Yeah,
before.
it felt a lot like that.
And the sort of the bookend to that is when you fight this boss in the fire world, and it's like this giant creature
Hmm.
that I think is the one that you see them working on in the garage. Like there's like
I
one
was
scene.
I was wondering. Couldn't tell if it was that or if it was the first boss that you killed. But I think you're right. I think it was
I
that
think
guy.
it might be both because you go back to the room where they were working on it and it's gone
Uh
after
huh.
you kill it,
Yeah.
which is like maybe a thing you could say for the high def graphics is they could do kind of like sort of visual lore type things like that,
Hmm.
which is fun. I don't know how many people would notice it, but that's the kind of thing you throw in there when you have like a team that's clicking on all like firing on all cylinders. It's like wouldn't it be cool if we just added this and they can do it?
I will say that boss was called Experiment Number Z57 too. So
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely correct on the lore.
So that was my least favorite boss.
Yeah, that guy was fucking hard.
It wasn't it was hard to tell which pieces of him could hurt you,
Hmm.
right? His like face could hurt you and his hands could hurt you, but like his face would also like go back a little bit and it wasn't really clear. I think we talked about readability of this game last time we
That
talked.
one in particular because like I wasn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not when the like Kraid is really obvious. Kraid is coming at you in 2D, but this guy is coming into the screen at you, and you're right. It's the only boss that did that, isn't it?
Yeah. And then there's that whole like Flappy Bird mode where like it has
Oh, I
there's
love
like a wind
that.
gust and like the wall behind you can hurt you and like it was just it was a very awkwardly constructed moment in that fight
Yeah.
where it's like it's I don't know, like the conceit of it was just like, okay, because it's an alien, we can make him do whatever we want. But then then it feels like slightly awkward. Like my suspension of disbelief was a little bit lost. I could tell I was playing a video game
Yep.
in that moment.
I found a similar thing in readability with there was like the boss that was underwater before you get the gravity suit, and you like have to magnet your way above him.
Yeah, yeah,
And I thought there were things in that room that I weren't sure were gonna hurt me that definitely ended up hurting me.
yeah. Well, I think there's a point where like the walls are damaging at some point. In
Yeah,
that fight. Yeah,
yeah. And once I figured out the pattern, it was actually pretty easy. But like there were definitely it was just confusing for a minute.
yeah. Um,
Still a great game.
Yeah, it's still a great game. I think I have two more things that I would criticize that I think go beyond quibbles.
Okay.
and get into like why the game design might be a little bit flawed.
Mm.
One is the story.
Hmm.
Um, should we spoil it?
Mm, I'm not sure we
Okay,
should.
yeah. Well, I don't need to spoil it, but
Hooray!
I do want to say that
Can I tell you the one joke my friend said that doesn't spoil the story, but will encapsulate the whole story?
yeah,
Metroid Dad.
nice,
Yeah,
nice. Um,
it was it
so
was weird that there was a story. That's
yeah, that was exactly what I was about to say. I don't think the story. They felt like they needed a framing device, and they felt like, for example, they needed to explain why Samus doesn't have her powers when she starts the game,
Mhm.
right? Um,
it's just a joke at this point though. Like you don't even have to explain it anymore when you
yeah,
start a Metroid.
yeah. You don't have to explain it. You don't
No.
have to explain it. Um, I, I agree, and I think the fact that there is a narrator, like your AI, that talks to you periodically, I think it ruins the sense of isolation that Metroid otherwise always has. You know,
Yeah.
like you're alone and you don't know what's coming around the corner. But then there's this like oracle telling you like where to go and what you need.
And Fusion did this too, but much
Okay.
worse. Fusion was like it told you exactly where to go every time, and it stopped you at your tracks, and it was totally linear, um, which was strange and really a bummer.
And you could tell that they wanted to be really disciplined about it. And the story is pretty restrained,
Hmm.
but I just don't think that it works very well. Or like I think it like takes away from the game a little bit.
It's just weird that halfway through someone just stops and talks to you for 10 minutes,
Yeah.
like, and then at the end it happens again. And I'm just like, okay,
You
didn't.
could also say that the game is kind of fan servicey, right?
Well,
Like if
yeah,
you don't know what the X parasite is, and I sure as hell didn't know what the X parasite was before I started playing this game. I'm just like, what the hell is all this? Why is it that when I kill the enemies now, they kind of drop these little blobs, you know?
I was so shocked at that because like I played a little bit of Fusion before this because I was like, oh yeah, the last Metroid, and the entire game is about X parasites. It's all X all the time.
Yeah,
The first enemy you kill turns into that. And I was like, okay, cool. Like that was that Game Boy game, and then they started doing that in this one, and I was like, oh, they remembered that existed. How weird.
right.
Yeah, and there were no Metroids, which like it's always a surprise reveal that there's still Metroids, which is really disappointing.
Well, there are Metroids
Yeah.
in this game. Yeah, technically.
Technically, which also like, ugh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Um, Here's the deepest criticism I will make of this game.
Okay.
Is that there are too many mechanics and you don't have to use them all. And I think in
Mm.
particular, it's the like the power ups and weapons that you accumulate over time. I feel like this is actually I can't criticize them too hard on this because this is like the fundamental game design challenge of Metroid. It's like how do you stack all of these different mobility and
Mm.
weapon kind of combinations in a way that like you can honor each mechanic,
Hmm.
but then not have them invalidate each other or contradict each other or obviate each other.
Maybe I can sum that up for you because I think for me a lot of the items felt like I was collecting a key.
Yeah.
Like I didn't always feel like I unlocked a new thing. I felt like I got a key to a door, and that I think is sort of the antithesis of Metroid and structuring this game correctly.
Yeah. So there's so many examples of this,
Yep.
right?
Just like
How many times?
half of
What's
the
that?
beams, you just don't need them. Like the doors are like a slightly different color, and you're just like, oh, that door needs the wave beam.
Yeah.
Better go find the wave beam.
The beams definitely. The gravity gun, which was incredible in Super Metroid. Like you use it for like at least in my playthrough, I used it for like an hour, and then
Gravity
I
gun.
got the
Oh, the
space
grapple.
jump.
Yeah, the grapple just shows up, and it's only there to unlock grapple doors. Like it's otherwise useless.
Super Metroid's grapple platforming was fine. Like I think I could see people being annoyed by it, but like the combination of the ice beam plus like grappling onto like frozen enemies was
I thought
actually
it
like a
worked
really
great.
fun part of it,
I thought it was
right?
wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, and actually kind of might be the best grapple in all of 2D gaming. Like
that's
I'm trying to think of other grapples.
No, I mean you get your Spider-Mans, but not in 2D.
Yeah, and like the Spider-Man's, at least the Spider-Man in if we're talking about like the PS4 Spider-Man,
Hmm.
like it's not, you don't really do it to platform. You do it to move quickly,
That's
right?
true. That's true.
I guess maybe ish trying to like get on top of specific buildings,
Hmm.
but you can always just climb,
Hmm.
right? You can always just
That's a good point. Yeah, this.
so the grapple gun, like you don't really use it, right? It's just a key to open doors. There's a couple of platforming sections where you need it, but
Yeah.
then like an hour later you get the space jump and like you don't need it anymore.
What I found a lot of places that were grapple puzzles, but I already had the space jump. Like I didn't even get the chance to use them as a grapple puzzle, which was a
Oh,
bummer.
yeah.
Like
Right.
I was like, oh well, I guess I could. I see how I could have done that, but also I'll just jump over there.
Yeah. Um I guess like in the end game, you have both space jump and screw attack, and you're just like walking through the like it's
Hmm.
kind of a fun power trip to kind of like walk through the levels
I
that you
enjoyed
had a
that
hard,
part. Yeah.
but it gets old after a while, and then after a certain point, you're just like, why didn't you just add a fast travel? Like if this is like your if this is your excuse for fast travel, just give me a fast travel.
Yeah.
You know what
No,
I mean?
it had slow travel. You had to wait 5 minutes between worlds.
The whole cloaking mechanic, like you can basically go through the game and not use the cloak at all,
Hmm.
except to like open those doors.
Yeah, and like get away from an enemy sometimes, but it actually like the risk reward is like imbalanced. Like cloaking is bad.
I think I used cloaking one or two times, but like I honestly didn't care about getting killed by the enemy. I was just like, okay, I'll
Really?
try it
Oh,
again.
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
It's fixed.
It didn't bother me that like an enemy caught me, because then
Hmm.
I could try it again, which is fine. I
Yep.
actually am fine with like restarting right there. It's like very Celeste like. Um,
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it because they nailed that vibe and it was great. I thought they were a great addition to the game. I really liked that.
the enemies were cool. It took me a while to learn how to do it.
Hmm.
Like it probably wasn't until like the second to last or last one where I was like, oh, okay, you have to find the part of the level that gives you enough time to like weaken the armor.
Hmm.
And the very last one is really cool, right? Because you like weaken the armor and then you jump up and hang on to this like moving platform above you, and then you have to like tuck your legs up
Yeah.
to avoid getting hit by
Oh, it
it.
was great. Yeah.
Which was very like end of the original Terminator. Like it
Oh
was like it had
yeah.
that feel to it.
Yeah. They watched Terminator and made those things. You're totally right.
Yeah. Um, and yet I wasn't sad when the Emmys were over. Like I was like, okay, this is a fun little parenthesis, but I'm not sad that I have to walk through another Emmy zone. you know?
No, and I'm just really sad that they were all exactly the same. And I know it was because you needed to like have similar mechanics for each Emmy so you could like learn and build, but it felt weird to like slot this weird piece of like future architecture into like lava world and ice world and plant world.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
I'll play it again in 3 years. I'll love it. It's
yeah,
fine.
totally, totally. The last Emmy fight was hilarious because like they would stack different obstacles in front of you. You had to like blow open a wall and then bomb some
Oh, it
stuff
was
and then blow
great.
open another
Yeah.
wall. It was really funny, and yet I think that similar to those speed boost puzzles we were talking about before. I think Metroid's game design has never been super organic. It's always like very deliberate. Like I'm going to put these mechanics in
Hmm.
front of you, and I want you to do it. But like there's a certain level of acts, like there's a threshold past which I start to like see the game designer sitting there going, haha, what can I throw at you next? It's like a Mario Maker level.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like what separates a challenging Mario Maker level from like an actual level is the sense that you're in a world.
Hmm.
And like you can take like a certain amount of like bullshit mechanical game design and still be kind of immersed. But then there's like some of those where it's like, okay, clearly they're very deliberately fucking with you. And like to me, like the last Emmy fight was like that.
Yeah, but I had fun doing it. But yeah, you're
Yeah,
absolutely
it was
right.
fun. It was really fun. So yeah, like overall, like I'm like the fact that I have this much to say about the game means it's a game that's worth talking about and worth analyzing and worth critiquing. You know what
Hmm.
I mean?
Well, it's like because it's because it's like in the upper echelon of like excellent experiences where I'm just like I can kind of see the flaws stand out a little more, um, but also like man, I would love to have like these flaws to talk about and make a game like this because like it was so good.
Yeah. I mean, mechanically, it's probably one of the best games I played this year.
Yeah, they nailed it. I'm surprised too that this is like some random American developer and not Nintendo or something.
Is it?
It's just some dudes called Mercury Steam. Yeah.
But I thought there was one of the original Metroid
He's
people
like
that
the
was involved.
producer. Yeah. I mean, I think he is the original. Yeah.
It's a pretty good resume. Damn.
I know, right?
What else did he do? He did Fusion and Super Metroid, so he clearly knew what he was doing. But yeah, you're right. The studio is Mercury. It's a Spanish video game developer, and then Nintendo EPD.
Yeah. And Mercury Steam did the DS Metroid 2 remake. Like they know Metroid, but yeah, it was surprising. I was surprised this is like it's like their Nintendo's B or C team, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a high budget game. As like polished as it is, it doesn't feel high budget.
Which is great. I don't need it.
Yep.
more
Yep.
more mid budget games. Did you play Hollow Knight, Jeff? I forget.
Yeah, I totally did.
Okay, cool. That game was far too big, but probably like
Yeah.
my favorite recent Metroidvania, just for putting together a really excellent package of mechanics.
Yeah, Hollow Knight might be better than this game, I think.
I think it might be better.
Yeah.
Because it's extremely good, but it was too long for me to finish and far too confusing and open, and didn't really like lock it down.
Agreed. I think that like maybe every Metroidvania has this kind of like you butt up against the mechanics a little bit. Like I've watched some of the videos of some of like the hell dungeons where it literally is Celeste.
Yeah.
You know, you're like bouncing off of things.
Oh yeah.
Off of moving projectiles and things, and like, it didn't seem fun to me. But I actually didn't have to play it.
Well, I was gonna say, I don't know if someone did a video on Metroid Dread level design, but the game is like 50% linear actually, which actually it made it feel more dynamic to me because like as you're playing, like things collapse, the ice world actually like you don't really have a lot of choices when you get to the frozen part of the game, but it feels so dynamic that they like change the world on you that it like
Yeah.
really works. So
You know, it's funny that occurred to me about a third of the way through. I'm like, it really feels like it's leading me directly to the next thing.
yeah, but without you feeling like you're having a marker or
Yeah.
yeah, they did a really good job and sort of like left you room to explore, but also didn't. I thought it was clever.
Yeah, there was only a few times where I felt like I got lost.
Same, like once, like maybe like twice. I think about a third of the way through and 2/3 of the way through, I was just like, where do we go now? And I had to like read the map, which was inscrutable.
Yeah. But I mean, to their credit, there's enough distributed throughout the game that you're like having fun collecting shit, you know?
Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
you still get to like explore and be like, oh no, I got it wrong, and go back. Yeah,
Yeah.
which I think maybe like that's part of it too. Like getting a little lost but not too lost was important.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. Like Hollow Knight was better because of the feels. Like whatever feeling that was missing from Metroid Dread, Hollow Knight
Oh,
had.
it had it in spades. I'm so excited for
But I
the
would
sequel.
rather replay Metroid Dread than Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight, I can kind of just say I played it, and then I don't need to go back again.
The thought of going back to that is like terrifying because
It's terrifying.
It's
right?
so huge and big and hard. Yeah.
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 Oh,
So yeah, Metroid Dread.
it's good shit. It was really good shit. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Coming up next for me, gaming wise, I think I have a backlog. I should probably start working on the backlog. Like I should probably play Pyre and
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
World of Tanks, and then a MOBA because
You
haven't
should
really played
experience a MOBA.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would join you in the Pyre. That one looks fun.
Is there multiplayer in Pyre?
No, maybe not, but we could just both play it. I also purchased it.
Yeah, I have it on PC.
Yeah, I think it's. Oh wait, it does have multiplayer. Holy shit. Local multiplayer. Ah,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
that's too bad.
Well,
we could use that weird thing.
Parsec, is that what it's called?
Yeah, we could parsec it. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I'd be interested in checking it out. Like, I feel like there's a sort of fundamental speed of light thing that this is not going to be able to get around.
Oh, I agree, but
Yeah,
I would give it a shot.
yeah, and Unity owns it now. Gosh, Unity, they're it seems like what they what would make a better developer experience is not buying a bunch of technology. Um,
And yet, that's what they're gonna do.
yeah, yeah,
Um, I started playing Valhalla a little bit because I was feeling kind of cruddy and needed a fun mashed potato game, and it's
yeah.
great. I love it.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah, it is definitely the mashed potatoes of video games.
Yeah, I didn't get quite to the point where I was like super powerful and good at the game, where I
Mm.
was just like running through bases, like killing people.
Hmm.
And um, I don't know if Odyssey was this way, but there's a certain squishiness to the combat in Valhalla that I did not like at all. It felt like Yakuza, and that's not a compliment.
I'm still like I played like 2 hours of it. I'm still like
Okay,
early on in Norway, but the combat has been squishy. I agree.
okay.
Oh, felt like Yakuza. You might have just ruined it for me, but you're totally right.
Actually, Yakuza. I
It
mean,
has better
having played
combat.
Judgment, having played Judgment recently, I actually got into the fighting a little bit in Judgment, where I would actually dodge because before I would just button mash. I would actually dodge and I would actually attempt to parry in Judgment, and I
Oh,
had a good
wowza!
time with it.
I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah,
Hey, you want to try multiplayer one more time? I opened a port,
you did.
and I didn't have it open before, so that could have been a problem.
All right, give me your IP again.
38,
Yeah.
126, 98, 197.
You realize that the internet can now denial of service us.
They can come play the game if they
Yeah, they could come play the
fire it
game.
up.
Yeah. Should I go?
Yeah, do it. Fuck. All right.
Maybe the game just doesn't work. Maybe that's the issue. Although I can do it locally. I can play multiplayer locally.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Great. Well, I really want to figure out the like host a server version of this. God damn. Okay.
Okay. I can work on that next. That might be an interesting thing to work on. Although we want to do terrain tonight, right?
Yeah. Let's see what's been going on.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about what's going on.
You have been
Okay.
busy.
So, well, first of all, there's been some things that like you can't really tell are happening, but it actually took me a while to implement.
Hmm.
So one example of that is in gamepad mode, when you're using the rocket or you're using, oh, there's also little particle trails now.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh wow, that looks really good on the rocket. Does it shoot backwards or is it? No, it's.
It does shoot backwards a little bit, yeah.
Oh yeah.
That wasn't intentional. It's just kind of a side effect of it. The
Uh, it's good.
particles like really take a long time to like figure out. And this is like the equivalent of like programmer art right now.
Hmm. Oh,
Um,
dude, this looks so much
but the
better
mortar
though.
has like a kind of like I don't you probably can't see it over stream, but the mortar has a little bit of a contrail,
Oh, not at
a
all. Yeah,
little bit of like a tracer trail. Yeah.
neat.
I could probably change that. And then like these actually have a little bit of spray behind
Hmm.
them. I don't know if you can tell.
I can see a little bit of that. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
And yeah, but the rockets is where they're most visible. And then of course when things blow up, there's now like a kind of a bigger explosion.
Hmm.
So where I was going with that is like the rocket and the standard shell. They're all like on the gamepad. You're just controlling the turret directly.
Nice.
Um, but what happens when you go to the mortar? Like what is your expectation if I rotated the turret this way and then I go to a mortar? Where does the cursor show up?
Huh. I was gonna say on the player, but I like what you chose, which is it ends up on the cursor a certain distance out. That's good.
Yeah, and the same thing for building, right? Like if I rotate this way and I go to building,
Nice.
what it does is like it says like, okay, were you previously in a mode where like you didn't care where the cursor was.
Hmm.
And if so, and you now do care about the cursor, what we're going to do is we're going to take your current orientation and we're going to draw a line from where you are in that direction to the edge of the screen.
Hmm.
And then we're going to find the spot halfway between you and the edge of the screen, and then put the cursor there.
I love it.
It's just basically trying to give you an intelligent guess of where you want it to be.
Nice.
However, if you had your cursor before that's in world space and you go to something else that has a cursor, it'll just return the same spot that it was before. So,
Nice.
So if I build, it's like there.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're tracking a virtual cursor, but like only sometimes.
Yes. Speaking of cursors, now the cursors are always active. They don't just disappear now.
Yes.
It just shows you where you can't build.
I love it.
Same thing with the mortar. I think you saw this already. The mortar actually has a
that.
decent amount of range, so it's really only right out here where you can't hit it anymore.
Nice.
And I think you had proposed that maybe what we do is, at least in gameplay mode, we just don't let the cursor go out that far. Which is fine, although I think we're going to want to be able to show the hittable edge, which is actually quite a complicated question, because the hittable edge is different depending on what the elevation is.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that is weird. Okay.
Or at least we want to indicate that somehow you've hit the maximum range, and that's why you can't move. You can't, because otherwise, like, it'll feel weird that you can't like move the cursor further unless there's some kind of visual indicator.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man, that looks great. Ooh, look at that.
What?
I saw your shade. Your
Oh, driving the trees. Yeah. So now there's stealth.
So I see. So it's actually the trees are semi-transparent, huh?
Yes, the trees have basically alpha. It's the same thing that this is doing.
Cool.
Where there's just like a cube with alpha around it. Yeah.
Those bushes look great. Tall grass.
Yeah, I'm excited. The trees we can do a lot more with, but this is sort of like this is like the worst trees that I allowed myself to make.
Yep. Oh, that's great.
And it does have a hiding mechanic. So I thought of some like cool scenarios that you could do where like you're trying to hide from these guys. The builder doesn't quite behave the way that I want to yet, but like what you could do is like build here. See, they can see the builder when it comes out of the trees.
Oh, that's wonderful though.
However, they can't see the builder while it's in the trees. So technically, I can still build over trees. It's a bug, but like, notice that they didn't shoot at him there.
Yep. Gotcha. Okay.
So now that I've got this, I can now mortar these guys, right? And they can't see me anymore.
Oh,
so
funny.
like we can do all kinds of level design like that, you know, where you build a little wall from the safety of the trees, and now because if you shoot out of the trees, you destroy them, but now they can't see you because you built a wall, you know.
Now
it's almost like it's like digging a trench, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, would you expect? Can you see past a wall? I guess we need to think about Fog of War.
We need to think about Fog of War. The turrets just happen to not shoot past walls.
Right.
They will not attempt to blow through a wall to get to you. But they can.
They could, yeah.
You notice how they don't right now, and then they shoot me. But it's because they're raycasting, right? If they don't have a line of sight.
Right. We made a very deliberate choice about that.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, by the way, the stream, the screen share looks a lot better than the last time I got it from you. So if you're tethered, it's better than your Wi-Fi. Sorry to report.
Oh no, I'm glad to hear that. I'm not connected to Ethernet, although I would like to figure out how to do that.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were tethered to your phone.
No.
Oh, okay.
Cool. I'm just off of the 5G network. I'm on the regular whatever Wi-Fi, whatever was before 5G in the Wi-Fi sense.
Oh, sorry. I thought when you said that, I was like, oh, you're tethering to your 5G phone.
It's so terrible that there's network technology that has the same.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, this is much better. So yeah, 2.4 gigahertz for the win.
I wonder why that's the case. Maybe my router just sucks. Which is too bad.
Some 5G shit is bad. Yeah. That is too bad.
Maybe I should just get an Eero. Fuck. Try to be
Sorry,
clever about it.
meshes are great.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh
Um,
man, this is awesome. Wow, you've dropped some mechanics in here.
yes. What else is new?
I'm
There's
glad.
some improvement in the way that the mouse works for this,
Hmm.
but it's still a little bit wonky. I kind of don't know what the right thing to do is,
Hey,
but
did you have to fix anything in the weapon wheel I built? It was mine was really picking things in strange directions.
yeah, I fixed the math. Like
Okay.
we want to make sure that you normalize the angles. I think you identified that like
Right.
yeah,
It was like off by half a pie.
it almost makes me want to add the cursor at all times in the game, but it raises the question of like what how how targeting with the mouse will work.
That is a good question.
I can't imagine I can imagine having like a cursor that's on at all times and then having like a very modest cursor. Like you remember the cursor, sorry, the targeting cursor in the Ascent. It's just basically like HTML brackets
Yep. Yep. Yeah, that thing was
around
good.
where the mouse pointer is. And that actually might be interesting with the mouse because what it we could almost detach the turret from the mouse cursor and have the targeting cursor lag if we felt like the cursor like the turret like had a certain
Oh.
rotation speed. I don't know if that's gonna be it's I don't know if that's gonna feel great.
I noticed that, and I think the World of Tanks or the Panzer Girl tank that you video you sent me, one of those had a lagging cursor for aiming, which
Yes, I think World of Tanks like you can only spin the turret so fast, right?
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I watched some of both those videos and I was like, I don't want to make either of these games. They're both so self serious about the tankiness of it, which I thought was very
Yeah.
interesting.
But you know, like I think it's worth trying. Because I mean certainly we don't want the snapping that we're seeing on the turrets. And
Absolutely,
then the snapping on the tank turret also feels weird, like this.
that's true.
There's a little bit of jank here.
Yep. Did
Okay,
I
so
was gonna
let me actually show
say
you. Yeah, sorry,
I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say it's a little jank, but also did you see the like Metroid Dread Turbo videos where you can press the button as fast as you want to fire, and it's like a mechanic.
Oh, really? Do people like do this?
Yeah, and you can like defeat bosses faster, and it looks like a turbo button, but there's no turbo button. Which I was like, I'm glad they didn't like put a cooldown in there because that's really cool.
Yeah, there's a cooldown for missiles,
There is, yeah, just not on the cannon. You can like
just not
shoot.
on the
You can
regular
shoot a
gun.
lot
Yep.
faster than you can charge shot. Whatever, whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought it was funny. Yeah. All right, let's see what's going
So
on
let me
here.
show you stealth, which is the most complicated thing. We saw a
Yeah.
little bit of it before, and we can tell that the turrets can't see you. Stealth is interesting because like basically every mechanic that has to deal with like finding game objects to like either pursue or to shoot at is going to have to account for stealth.
Yep.
Um, so let's go ahead and move this to the. I think the wide layout is the best one for actually playing the game.
Cool.
Actually, I think I can make a layout that like doesn't even have this, right?
You could just do maximize on play too, but that works.
Does it maximize on play maximize into the
Into Unity, yeah,
into the window?
yeah.
Is that this? Play maximized?
I think so. It looks like they changed it, but yeah, let's see.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Yeah, because that's the best.
Great.
Neat.
So we'll start the server, we're gonna join the server. That works. Click ready. One of the problems with Text Mesh Pro is that it doesn't have the full Unicode set for some of the default for some of the like the Unicode. I mean just using the check mark here. So
Yep.
we're gonna have to figure out how to get around that.
Okay.
All right. So the game started. I started this guy.
Right by them trees. Nice.
So I don't see anything up there,
Huh.
which is what I wanted, right?
Yeah, it's
They can't
perfect.
see each other because they're in the trees. And then I can even like I can send the builder out.
Oh, weird. Wow. Okay.
Watch the left side.
Neat. That's cool.
Yeah, this is what you want, right?
Can
You
you
the builder has stealth.
on the red side? Can you send a builder to the top right of the screen? Huh. The turrets see it on creation and then lose it. That's really interesting. As soon as
The
you click,
turrets.
as soon as you click the build button, the turrets peek at it.
Oh, that is interesting. I don't know why that would be the case.
Me
It might
neither.
be that
For
the frame that they're visible,
for one frame, yeah.
we don't run the stealth calculation.
Yep.
So maybe stealth needs to run before the turrets, basically.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
also not sure, like, we may need to, like, right now spawning, I think spawning always happens at the same time in the game loop because it happens to the network, which is actually a good thing because I don't actually know what it means. Well, that's not true. It's not true on the server side. So that might be the issue. We might need to make like a spawn queue that we know runs at the very beginning of the frame, right? And so anytime you want to create something, it doesn't just appear in the middle of the frame,
It shows up
which
at
is
the next frame, but always at the start of it.
always
Yeah.
at the same time. And that way you don't have this like weird situation where like you're iterating over entities and updating them and like some of the components know about the new entity, but some of the other ones don't know. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
like
I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
that thing I just talked about is like a classic game programming bugbear is like when did something actually happen and like if it happens halfway through a frame, is it suddenly interacting with the physics objects of that? And I think that's exactly what we're seeing right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I was just making sure I'm not crazy, and I think that makes total sense.
Yeah, that eagle eye. So I'm gonna go ahead and like move here, and so you can see on the right side, you can see the
Cool.
blue tank kind of
Yeah.
diving in and out. Right.
Neat.
I really hate these turrets. They're kind of messing me up. I'm gonna kill them.
Yeah. Do it.
I don't know how to kill them actually. They're gonna jack me up.
You
So
should.
I'll just mortar them from here.
Yeah, to say that or build a turret behind them.
So here's a thing about the mortar I don't like is if I'm up against a wall, the mortar hits the wall.
Oh yeah, it's got.
Oops.
Wait.
Oh, never mind. I was in the standard shell, but the same thing applies.
Yeah, for one
Yeah.
wall unit. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a little bit of a puzzle to solve because essentially we have a locked velocity for the locked muzzle speed for that, and we'd have to change the muzzle speed.
We could pick the incredibly frustrating Hades mechanic of if it hits a wall, it bounces off and goes the other direction, which is the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. Okay. So on the right side, you can see.
Look at that, cool.
Like it would be cool if there was an alpha fade, like so rather than it snapping on and off, we actually just set a little like alpha interpolator, and anytime it switches on, it just negates the direction that the alpha interpolator is going. You know.
Yep. I think
That way
really
you can
great.
have a little bit of dramatic in and out.
Because
right?
just a fast fade and it would work perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sort of like popping in whatever gap there is in the trees there. Yeah, that looks funny.
Yeah. But this actually, we got to make it so that like tanks can't roll over each other. That makes sense. But it's. I think this will be really fun, like kind
Yeah.
of sneaking around in the woods. You know.
Should you be able to place stealth grass like this? I feel like this is another buildable.
So I was yes, I think you can lay trees in you can lay trees in the original Bolo. I was thinking about maybe making like a smoke emitter or something like that. Essentially, you can make ephemeral stealth volumes.
Oh, that'd be cool
And
too.
that feels a little bit less wonky than like planting trees. As I was thinking about like mechanics in this game, this is sort of like a larger big picture question. Like how quote unquote realistic should the game be?
I mean,
And
we're still on a cyber tank from Cops, so I was figuring we go full nanotech on this sucker to explain most of it.
Yes, but what's really more like, do you want to be planting trees with your tank? Is that a weird thing for a tank to do?
Ah,
Right.
I mean, sort of, unless we made the mechanic that you are reclaiming reclaiming the urban dystopian world for nature by planting trees to take over the map.
I don't want to be an eco-terrorist in this game. I mean, that could be sort of like the ulterior
Just
motive, but
just a
like
normal terrorist. Yeah.
just a normal
Okay.
terrorist,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but so like, is the mechanic that you lay trees down, or is the mechanic that you like lay down like stealth cloaking fields, or you just like do a smoke screen straight up?
I like the notion of both a temporary and a permanent one. So smoke screen
Yeah.
and some sort of stealth field that you can
Yes.
stealth emitter you can build.
Yep. Uh, yeah, it might just be trees and you're just poison ivy. You know, it.
I would
Just
I would
own
make
it.
the hell out of that game. That'd be really
Yeah.
fun too.
But yeah, I think this game is gonna be really fun with stealth and multiplayer in particular.
Hmm.
And I got the idea for the smoke thing from watching Girls und Panzer. I got a lot of ideas watching that anime. I finished it today.
Oh,
Um,
is it long? It's not, that's
it's like a 12 episode half hour per episode.
Oh, that's
thing.
fine. Yeah.
So you can watch it over lunch, you know.
Mhm.
I would potentially recommend it because like the actual tank combat scenes are dope.
Okay.
Um, I'm not gonna like say you have to watch it, but like
I'll consider. I'll,
you
here,
can consider it. Like you can have it somewhere in your backlog.
here. I'll go torrent it right now. It's for,
It's on Netflix, by the way.
oh, it's on Netflix. I don't even have to steal it. Okay, I'll watch
No,
it.
you don't. um,
Here I go firing up the VPN for nothing. Cool.
yeah. They had a smoke screen. What was the other idea that I got from them that I wanted to do?
The first person aiming.
First person aiming would be really cool. There's this one scene where they do like the you know, like the ninja battle where the like two ninjas are running sideways
Yeah.
and facing each other. They did that in like the final fight, but it's like there's two tanks driving in an urban environment, and there's like a wall separating them, or it's like they're like city blocks. But city blocks also have roads, so there's like gaps in the blocks, and that's when they shoot at each other. It's really pretty dope.
Oh, that is really cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I liked the Unity or the modeling thing you sent me about white building, or what was it? White meshing? I forget.
White boxing.
White boxing.
Yeah.
But I love the notion, like their example of the city. I was like, oh yeah, we really should we should try this game out on a city map because I feel like that actually is going to be a lot of the way this thing interacts.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. What else besides the smoke screen? Like I had a specific thing I wanted to talk about. That's the reason why I even brought up that anime again. But like it's not coming to me now.
Damn.
Yeah. Oh no. It's the notion like the way that they do tournaments in that world is that there's this thing called a flag tank. Like it's basically teams of tanks fighting each other, but all you have to do is take out the flag tank. And I think that's actually a really interesting multiplayer way to play, where you essentially have the flag tank. So rather than it being capture the flag or like total elimination of everybody on the team, it's like you just have to kill the one tank that's like specially marked on the other team.
Oh, I do like that.
Yeah. And then what's hilarious about that anime is like part of the reason why the heroes like have any kind of danger put in front of them is that like they're outnumbered and they have like worse technology than the other teams. I'm like, how is this even a sport? It'd be like playing a basketball tournament where there's like 10 people on the floor for the other team. You know, it's just like it doesn't make any sense. But then that got me thinking, like, what if you played an asymmetric match where the other team had twice as many players as you,
Oh, that'd be cool.
but the team with fewer starting number of tanks only had to kill one of those other tanks. So you'd be fighting like this guerrilla war, basically.
Oh, I like that.
I think it'd be fun, and I think it makes stealth all the more interesting in this game.
Yeah, and also depending on how we do loadouts, like in a campaign mode, there could be you get a stealth loadout for the mission, but also like we could let people sort of opt into the gameplay style that fits that really well. So
Yeah, exactly.
interesting.
Exactly. Doesn't that all sound really exciting?
that does sound really fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
neat.
All right.
Okay,
me,
I will watch this 12 episode weirdness.
Okay. And they also do have like the whole like character building and that kind of thing.
Okay, because
Um,
I kind of like I saw it and I was like, this is fashy waifu, but
it is
and it is,
fashy.
yeah.
Uh,
But I'll watch it.
but they all end up friends with each other at the end. Spoiler alert. So,
Okay.
um,
Love it.
yeah, where is Cat on the anime kind of fandom?
Um, some good, some bad. I think it's not definitely not into the need to watch 200 episodes of a thing, but we'll watch it.
Because she's into Japan, right? But I'm kind of curious, like what how that manifests.
Oh, yeah, mostly like learning the language, to be honest.
Really? Okay, so she doesn't have like a like I love
No, it's like
Japanese music or TV or something like that.
no, strangely no.
Okay, because the pop culture is usually the gateway, right? Usually you're like
Yeah.
some sort of weirdo otaku person, and then you learn
No, I
Japanese,
think
right?
I think the language was a challenge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a fun, super fun language to learn.
Well, I think they also got to experience visiting there at a younger age, and they were just like, "Oh, this culture's got its shit right," which
Yeah.
like they kind of do in some ways, and in some ways they
Trains,
don't.
man.
What's
Trains,
that?
man.
I know
Trains.
that it's fucking real, right? Trains and like caring about each other. That's like all I need, and they've got it in spades.
Yeah, man. I just love the idea of like, okay, I want to go snowboarding. All right, well, I'll just hop on the train
Take a train.
with my bag, and then then I'm in the snow, and then I'll rent a snowboard when I'm up there. It's unbelievable.
The Northeast is also like that.
So you can like take a train up to like upstate or Vermont or something like that, and just like
Yeah, yeah, or like I think all the way to Maine. I can take a train to the beach, and probably to some mountains for snowboarding.
so are you saying I should move to New Haven, Connecticut?
I think you should move to the Northeast and get out of California.
Okay.
Don't go to the Pacific Northwest. It's going to be a hellhole. But otherwise,
And because my number two place to move would probably be Seattle at this point. My number one would be here.
that's fair. That's fair. I feel like the them having a 110-degree heat wave in the summer was like immediately it
It's
immediately
a
broke that
downer.
entire part of the
It's a
country off the map.
significant
Yeah.
downer. Yeah.
I was like, no way.
Yeah. Ugh. So, anyways, let's talk about how the stealth is implemented really quick, and then we can talk about new stuff.
Terrain. Yeah.
Okay. So, well, actually, let me go back to Unity real quick.
Hmm.
Okay. So there is on the player prefab has a stealth component on it. And the stealth component doesn't really have anything that's interesting that's exposed, except the fact that it has a Boolean on whether stealth is currently active or not. You're not really supposed to click on this directly. So, like basically game logic will determine whether the stealth is active or not. And then it's a sync var because it's decided on the server,
right,
whether you're in stealth or not. And then if you take a look at the
I just realized we can hide stuff from the inspector.
yeah, I think I intentionally
Left it there. Okay.
I don't remember.
Okay, cool.
You'll notice that the builder also has a stealth script on it as well.
Gotcha. So anything that's not right. So the trees don't apply to everything. They only look for things inside of them with self scripts. Makes sense.
Yeah. Currently, the way stealth works is that you have to also have an affiliation
Okay.
because stealth
Hides you from the other team, not from your team.
also hides you from the other team, not from your own team.
Mhm.
Yes.
Hmm.
Okay. So there's also. Oh god, this indexing is for some reason it's not finding tile tree.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, it's so weird. And yet something makes me think that it's like indexing alphabetically and it's like running into a character it can't handle. See this prefab tile tree down here?
Yep.
It definitely exists, right?
Sure does. Oh, that's awful. I'm sorry.
Although I did just see something that's interesting. If I click on this, it says root in prefab asset, open for full editing support. Does that say that for other things? It does. Okay, cool. All right, so the tile tree it has a
Tile tree
tile
script.
tree script on it, just so that you know that it's a tile tree,
Cool.
basically. And I don't think it actually does anything. But let's take a look.
Oh, interesting. Huh. Oh, yeah.
Actually, I thought it has another script, but maybe not.
No, I imagine stealth hides this or manages the hiding, right?
Yeah, I thought I had a component that like says that this is a stealth volume, but I think the only thing that does it right now is the tile tree, so maybe I didn't generalize.
Hmm.
Um, okay, so if we look at the stealth component, um, oh, you know what it is? All it is it's a layer. Oh, so I use layers for
Oh,
this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Um,
That is a very forward. Stealth volumes feels very forward facing though, so
yeah.
I like it.
Okay, so if you have a stealth component, that means your thing could potentially be obscured from your enemies.
Hmm.
It has this stealth active sync var. I think if we just turn this to private, it won't show up in the inspector.
You can also annotate it with hide in inspector.
Hide it inspector.
Yeah,
Awesome.
but yeah, that's true.
Okay, so on the server, what it does is it says, okay, do an overlap box collision
Hmm.
with any other collider that's in the stealth volumes layer, and the tile trees are in that layer. And the thing that we're using to check currently is not the collision volume of the current object. I just said like this just needs to be a rough capture. It's like a broad phase check. So I'll just take the current position. I'll make like a single tile around in every direction.
Mm-hmm. What
I
is
don't know if
tile
this is
size
quite big
v3?
enough.
What is?
Oh, vector 3. So
Oh,
it's basically
sorry,
the tile
gotcha.
size. I actually think it might be a good idea if we start to use a constant for the tile size because we may want to change it over time.
That makes
And this
sense.
is really more about modeling than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's inconvenient to model things with it like under 1 meter inside Blender.
Yep.
So
Cool.
something to think about.
Yeah.
So this, by and large, is only going to return like at most like 4 things, 5 things.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we grab either the character controller or collider that's on the current object. It depends on whether this is the player or if it's the builder.
Okay.
Right? And this gives us a bounding box. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're not orienting the bounding box for this like stealth check. We're assuming that they're like basically aligned, axis aligned to the global axes.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we do is we just iterate over the colliders that we searched for in the stealth volumes check. And this is actually identical to what we do in the WebGL.
I was gonna say this looks really familiar.
Yeah. The assumption is that the colliders that we're overlapping against are themselves mutually exclusive. So they're like the assumption is that they're not overlapping with each other.
Mm-hmm.
That is an assumption that may break if we change the way that we do level design. But since everything is currently like tiles and like tile aligned, we can definitely make this assumption. We do have to make sure that we don't put 2 trees on at the same time, like on the same tile, because that would potentially like overcredit you for stealth.
Right. You'll be able to hide with half as much of yourself showing, or half.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the idea here is that like the amount that you're obscured by a stealth volume has to be over whatever this threshold is, which in this case is just 50%.
Cool.
I tried it with 75%, and it felt like I wanted to be in stealth earlier than that. So,
I feel like that's the exact number I picked for the previous one too, right?
yeah, it might. It was. I think it was probably arbitrary before, but it felt fine.
Cool.
But I decided to mess with it.
Nice.
Okay, and then on the client side, this is every client. It's not just the player that controls this object, right? Because this is for builders as well and that kind of thing. What it says is like, am I visible locally? So what it is like, what team am I on locally? And basically it says like, if I'm not visible locally, basically if this is like an enemy tank that's hiding in the trees but simulating like on my current client, it's just going to turn the mesh off.
Cool.
Yeah. Or the whole family of meshes in this case.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know of a better way to turn off rendering for a whole family of game objects than to like grab all of the mesh renderers recursively, which is what this does, and then like turn off the enable flag. I'm not. There might be another way of doing that.
That seems harder than it needs to be, but yeah, that's how we've done it before too.
Where do we do it? Where do we do it
Uh,
elsewhere?
Sorry, I guess the only place we do this is we do it for coloring for the affiliation. We do the
Yeah,
recursive grabbing for that. Yeah.
yeah.
Huh.
Certainly, if you do set active false on the parent, it'll stop rendering, but it also stops simulating, which is not what we want.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's stealth.
That's nice and simple, actually.
Yep. So we played with terrain a little bit before. Maybe we can play with it again.
Yeah. We have some.
Uh, so I think we used Pro Builder before, right?
We did. It was jank.
It was janky. It might still be the best thing, right?
Yep.
What alternative do we have, really? I guess we can design meshes.
We can
We could
design.
design like individual components that we cobble together.
Yeah, we could take some Blender things that are all a meter effectively, and build things that are sort of meter units, and then snap them to the grid here, um, as sort of the skate park version of this. I'm not super attached to that though. I think having a more well, I guess like what kind of game do we think is happening here? Because I feel like buildings are what's missing. Like buildings and ramps and like a second level of street. I like the urban nature. I like the sort of like forest near a city kind of setup.
I don't hate. By the way, I was silent not because I disliked the idea of like snapping together a bunch of individual tile size
Yeah.
game objects. Like I actually think that's like potentially the way that we might want to go about it. I could imagine it being like a serious performance problem over time.
Well, I was
Um,
not necessarily tile size, but tile align. So like we could have a 4 meter by 4 meter building we drop in that is a
yeah,
obstacle, and that
and so
that I think would work if it's not like every tile is, because that is a lot. Yeah.
it would work. And then the collision volume we just have to design in, or we'd programmatically generate the collision volume at
Yeah.
that point, right?
Yeah.
We'd say like we can kind of tell what the bounds are. We know that this is meant to be a building. Let's just make a collision volume that's like programmatically determined by the bounds of the mesh. And that way we don't have to like do it in the editor.
Yep.
Or we can do some kind of like import step that'll like create the collision volume for us. So at least we can visualize it in the editor. I don't know what the right way of doing it is. Um, the advantage of using Pro Builder is that you get all that for free and you do it in here. But what the buildings can actually look like are really, really limited. And like it raises the question of how to do the wireframing, right?
Yep. 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 I'm. I feel like we'll get more of what we want by making our own meshes, but
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. Pro Builder was just so. Maybe it's a combo too. Like Pro Builder is the terrain, but the terrain does have a lot of things on it too that are obstacles, and not necessarily destructible obstacles.
Mm-hmm. Oh, let's try the Unity thing then. Or let's try the Blender thing then, right?
Okay, bring it on. Oh, Blender.
So I think we are limited to creating objects or shapes that have. Well, I don't know. We could probably just create the whole mountain and then like cobble together a bunch of game objects that represent the collision volumes, right?
Is it? That's a good question. Are you thinking that like there is a mountain you can climb of sort of arbitrary face angles, or is it like this thing is actually a ramp that is sort of mountain shaped?
Um, yeah, so I guess there's two ways I'm thinking. One is that you design the whole level or the whole, at least the whole like non-ground asset, like in one giant Blender file, export that. That becomes your mesh. And then you have a separate set of physics objects that you have to basically cobble together in Unity somehow that represent the collision volume of it. Although I don't know, Unity might be able to take your mesh and just create a collision mesh out of it.
It
Is
might
that possible?
it might do it. I think that's just, isn't that just a mesh collider? I feel like Unity has that in there.
You're
If
right. You're
yeah,
right. Okay. So maybe, and I think the only disadvantage there is that you can't place game objects inside of Blender, and so there's a little bit of a disconnect. But maybe
yeah,
it's fine.
yeah.
Right. All right. So as a challenge, maybe let's try making a mountain that has a little bit of like a spiral ramp going up.
Cool.
All right. Okay. So we'll try to go quick on this, as quickly as I know how to go in this.
Did you just turn into a unit cube? Nice.
Yeah. There's this really funny like YouTube short of like people. It's like people in Blender be like, and like basically it was like the first thing they do is delete the unit cube, and then they just create another cube. Gotta have a fresh one. No.
But it's extremely true.
Yeah. I need absolute grid snap here. That's funny. I am not snapping to. Grid. It's funny. I'm now like lost between my.
I mean, just going between Blender and Unity.
Yeah. And then Blender has this issue where if you cross the vertical pole and you come back around, now your kind of orientation is your like orbit controls are reversed.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. That's just a stylistic choice. How do I align this? Oh, you know what? Snapping is the origin.
Oh, do you want to know a quarter? Yeah.
Do you want it on a quarter? Okay. Well, I can do this the brute force way.
Yeah, that'll do.
And then what I want to do is, I guess the origin of this doesn't matter because this is basically just going to be my terrain, and I'm just going to extrude the shit out of it, right?
Yep.
Okay, so maybe we want to do a mountain. Ugh, it's got me off. For some reason, scaling it from this.
That's weird. I would have thought scale.
It's scaling around the origin. So I think I do need to move the origin to the center of this thing.
Oh, damn.
Okay. Now, oh, I think I also need to do like a local scale here. So. No, that didn't quite do it. That's surprising.
That's weird.
Scaling by a factor of 10 on just the X and Y plane. I can't just figure out maybe how to snap it. I just moved it. Oh, gosh, this is so weird. Like, I'll say this about Blender is that like there are times when it gets into like a weird state that doesn't behave the way that I remember, and I kind of don't know like whether I'm doing something wrong or if I've like mistakenly flipped a switch somewhere.
Yeah. That is the Blender experience. What the fuck? What is it doing?
Yeah. So anyways, I'm gonna just go ahead and brute force this again.
Okay.
And Blender's in this weird state where like what I'm orbiting around is like not the center of the object I've selected.
I'm yeah, I'm fairly confused what it's
Yeah.
doing.
Now you can hit the numpad dot
Nice.
period, and then it'll fix that.
Hmm.
So the orbit now makes a little bit more sense. Um, but yeah, it gets into like these weird states like that. Okay. So okay, let's maybe inset this by that. Did that make new geometry or what did it do?
I think it should have. Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Why is it extruding?
It's not extruding. You grab the face, right?
No, I'm just insetting. And I'm holding control, and control rather than enabling snapping is like,
Whoa.
oh, it's because control has a special meaning in the inset tool.
Huh.
That is a little surprising. So I'll just turn snapping on this way. I guess you can't snap.
You can't snap to inset?
Well, I'll inset 1 meter. How's that?
Cool.
And I think that should be grid aligned.
Nice.
Yeah,
That looks great.
like it. All right. So then we can take this face. We'll extrude it up by 1. Okay. And then I kind of want to maybe only just have like a corner of it.
Okay.
So what's the right way to do that? If I wanted to make like a corner aligned square.
Oh, can you inset but snap? Ah, I forgot how to do this. There's inset, but you can like hug some edges. Ah, we did this in the car. Shit.
You definitely can do it when you're mirroring for sure. Why don't though? I just continue to do this like the brute force way, right?
Cool.
I did the inset, and I can just go the XY plane this way, and I can always just like merge duplicate vertices.
Yep.
By just like, and that should get rid of all that stuff, extra geometry. Now I can extrude this by 1, and let's do the exact same thing I did before. Nope.
Nice.
Okay, so I've got a little mountain here, and we want to be able to drive up it, right? Okay, so why don't we make a little ramp? What I'm trying to do is bring this edge down without squashing the other geometry. So I think I need to like make another face on the interior here somehow.
Are you trying to turn it into steps versus?
Yes, I'm trying to make it a ramp.
I see. Well, ramp, I would grab the top far edge and pull it down. Oh, I see. You're trying to ramp that direction. Yeah,
Trying to ramp,
yeah,
I'm trying to ramp
yeah.
down here. Yeah.
Can you click on the vertex?
Yeah.
And is there a split command for that? I thought there was. Subdivide. Shit.
Something in the vertex menu.
Yeah.
I remember we had this issue in Pro Builder.
Rip.
I can, however, select these verts and make a new face there,
Okay.
and that's invisibly what we want, right?
Yeah.
And then hopefully, if
So, I think you need to.
I'm not merging automatically, yeah.
I think you need to select the vertex. And where'd the menu go? Shit. It's under. I think it's under mesh. Mesh. Oh shit. Maybe it's still documentation. There. We want like separate selection. I think that's right. Oh.
I see what you're saying.
Oh, I saw it
Well,
there
here's
too.
another thing we can do. Is rather than do an extrusion, although it's too bad, I really kind of want to do the extrusion there.
No, try separate selection on that vertex. I think that might be it. And now see if you have.
Yeah, I do have an extra vertex.
Yeah, there's a new vert. I don't know if that not as helpful as I wanted, but so can you grab the edge you were trying to grab now?
I can. I think I need to do the same thing with both of these verts here.
Gotcha. That's under mesh separate. What? All right. Weird.
Okay, so I think the extrusion is the wrong thing to do here.
Yeah.
So I guess basically what we're going to want to do instead. Is this not flush still?
Oh, come on. Jeez. It's good enough. I'll accept it.
Well, it's not going to align to when we move it into the game. That's the problem.
Damn.
How did this move? What happened? You saw me snap everything, right?
I thought so, yeah.
All right, well, I think it's actually easy for me to...
Just start again.
Yeah.
Oof. Oh, you know what we wanted to do before that extrusion? We wanted to duplicate that face and then extrude from the duplicate, because then you would have a separate cube.
Yes.
That was the missing piece. Well, thanks to Miv's World, who just followed us on Twitch.
Nice.
I appreciate it. I don't know if they're in the chat or not, but thanks for following. Okay, cool. Yeah. That sucker is aligned and floating, but aligned. Blender.
Okay, that's aligned. Now let's just go ahead and scale this out. Scale this out by what we had before. That's going to be perfect. Oops, I only wanted to scale.
That's twice as big, by the way, for what it's worth.
This is twice as big?
I think so, because you just started
Yeah,
with
this is fine.
You start with a 2x2 instead of a 1x1.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Cool.
Whoa, what the hell? There we go. Inset by 1. Extrude up by 1.
Can you actually, before we do that, can we inset by 2 since we have such a big thing and like
Yeah.
the tank is 1 wide? I feel like it's like going to be hard to have 2 tanks on the ramp or something.
Yeah, inset by 3.
Whoa, big spender.
And then let's go ahead and move this face.
I'm seeing some big King of the Hill energy in here. I like it.
Yeah. Cool.
Nice.
Now let's do ramps,
Excellent.
and we'll basically do it the way that you were saying.
Yeah, shifty, baby.
Shift D, duplicate, extrude, and maybe we want a fatter ramp.
Yeah, I think so. Hey, there we go. 2 is good, yeah. Ah, beautiful.
Yeah. And then maybe let's do a ramp on this side.
For this one, can we do a loop cut a little earlier?
Yeah, where do you want the loop cut?
I like 3/4 of the way through it. After you do the extrusion, though, just thinking that the ramp should have like an actual flat alignment part.
Sorry, can you say that one more time?
Oh yeah, like when you extrude what will be the ramp shape, we have the long rectangle, but I think we should loop cut it 3/4 of the way through, so then when you drag the ramp down, there's a flat top to the ramp. That'll line up with the side of the
Oh,
thing.
I see what you're saying. Yes. Yeah, totally. Actually, we can.
Loop cut's the only word I have for that, but there might be another way.
I think the fastest thing might actually be a knife right here.
Mm-hmm.
Down to here,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll just go ahead and make sure these are snapping.
What is it snapping to?
Snap to the vertex.
Oh, there we
the
go.
way that this works is
Oh, it snaps to the vertex. Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so what you can do is you basically hit go, and then you want to restrict it to the x-axis,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can turn on snapping by I'm holding control right now,
Mm-hmm.
and then you highlight
The other
the vertex that you
yeah.
want it to align with
Nice.
cursor. Super powerful.
Yeah, that's rad.
Yeah. All right, so that's basically what you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
and then now
absolutely.
what we can do is shift duplicate both of these,
Mm-hmm.
extrude them by, hang on a second, I want
Yeah.
to align to
Back to increment, yeah.
yeah. Align them.
Huh?
And another fat ramp there.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go down on the z-axis like that.
That's
what you're looking for.
That's what I
right?
wanted. Yeah, looks great.
Okay. Slowly but surely, we're crawling our way there,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so we want to do something similar over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think we can actually turn on multiple snapping modes.
Well, damn.
It'll just try to pick the thing that it thinks you're trying to do. First of all, let me get rid of this. Right. The Udemy class I'm taking right now is like, always name your objects. And the guy who's like doing it like forgets every single time. It's hilarious. All right. We are going to knife cut. Let's just do it here and then down here, and then we can fix it in post. Hey, what happened to my cut?
It didn't. That's weird. Does it? Huh. Okay.
Maybe I need to be in vertex mode?
What the fuck? Well, that is perplexing. Huh. I tried to face
There is a random vert right here. Oh, it's gone. What? Is Blender just freaking out?
Maybe. Can you make any knife cuts? Oh, okay. Come on.
This face is definitely there. It
Uh-huh.
exists.
Uh-huh. You want to try you could shifty duplicate it first and then try to do knife cut. I don't know if that's going to help or not.
That's fine. That'll be fine. Yep. And then, so it should be duplicated now.
I tried. That's bizarre.
It is pretty bizarre. All right, I'm gonna save just to see if we're not in some weird Twilight Zone,
That's
right?
fair. That I find that Blender is usually pretty darn consistent.
It is pretty consistent. So there's probably a reason why this isn't working.
It feels like there's an edge there that it's connecting to that's like the wrong edge or something.
Agreed. Yeah. So if I were to, it's possible that it doesn't know, like if I were to move this edge,
Like can you even
I can't
select
even
that edge?
select it.
Yeah. Whoa. Oh yeah, look at that geometry. That's bizarre. You know what? That is the inset
That is the inset.
to
So
the corner. Huh.
how do I get rid of superfluous edges? That's my question.
Is there did I thought you already merged by yeah. Huh.
Yeah, it looks like all my insets have duplicate edges. Um,
Weird. Okay.
well, there's ways of fixing that, right? I can also take this edge and basically just delete it, right?
Let's see.
Oh shit. It's like
Weird.
if I delete this edge,
Huh.
some weird thing happens over here.
You're looking through that face is gone, yeah.
Oh, that face is gone. That's fine.
Because you can recreate the face.
Yes, so I can basically just like select a couple edges here.
Oh, the you've got a bottom edge that's not the right one. On the right side. Oh, well, yeah. This is when I want to understand Blender's like loop select too, because I feel like it could do that.
Yeah. Okay, so now I should be able to knife cut. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
love it.
Whew.
Weird. Really weird.
We're learning together.
I would have thought that the merge by distance would have taken care of that though.
I agree. Which kind of makes me wonder what's happening when I'm
I have the
taking
same
this
question.
edge.
Yeah.
Like, is it two edges still? Like, if I was to move it back up? I mean, I didn't. Oh, yeah, it is two edges,
No.
right?
Yep. Okay.
Um, but that's fine. We're gonna have the same issue here, right?
Yeah, we are. Why? Why didn't duplicate fix that though? Because you duplicate the face, shouldn't you be working on a clean copy of it? I don't get it.
This knife cut actually just might work.
Okay. So the last one was just a bad knife.
I think it was just we had bad luck. That was the way
Yeah.
like the kind of geometry fell. Is that aligned?
Mm-hmm. Looks fine to me.
There it is. Okay.
Nice.
Ah,
Oh yeah. All right. It's a cool mountain. It's one sick mountain we got here.
oh boy. All the cool kids would be making fun of me right now for my terrible blender skills. But you got to learn somehow, right?
Damn right.
All right, we got a mountain. Uh,
Oh, meshes in the sidebar. You've got it in recent.
totally.
Nice.
All right, let's hope that did something.
Let's. I'm very curious how this is gonna work.
So under terrain,
Uh-huh.
this thing is so hard to navigate with all the bugs.
Oh, it's the worst. There's mountain. Heck yeah. It actually looks fairly reasonable.
It's really big.
You made it like 20 by 20, yeah. It's half of our map.
It fits,
Uh-huh.
sort of. Where's our ramp?
I can't tell. There it is.
I probably should have made the ramp flush with the ground. I think we'll be able to get over that.
I think we can make it. Let's find out.
And then these turrets just got to go.
Probably time. Good luck even finding that one.
I think it's creeping around somewhere. I like how it's just like in the level objects folder.
Hmm. Yeah, I would love to. I still want the like more structured level. I don't know.
Agreed.
Like I just want the
Where's
grid.
that turret?
Oh my god. I just want a grid map of like what goes on the grid where, and like the grid could also have height, but still only one thing at a time. Oh no, that's so annoying. You know what you can do? You can hide the
You're totally right.
hide the terrain and then just grab it. Or can you? Uncheck the mesh renderer. Whoa.
Oh, you know what? This is the UI being slow. It's a click behind.
It's the worst.
Oh, I forgot to wireframe this mountain.
That's okay. Let's see what we got. Then we
Should just draw it. Yeah.
we can re-export it.
And then we need to make this a collision mesh, a mesh collider.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And then is there a layer that this goes on?
Oh yeah. So they're still aiming at you. Okay, great. Wow, it's hard to see.
It's really hard to see.
I feel like this is fuck, that's the worst. Oh no.
I don't think you should be able to drive off of edges, right, in this game. How do you feel about that? You shouldn't be able to like do this.
Oh, interesting.
Like in StarCraft, you can't just like walk your guys off the edge, right?
No.
There should be like an invisible barrier.
Not without a couple special jumping mechanics. Yeah, I think you're right. Okay.
But you could totally play this.
That's rad. Looks good.
Is this how we're gonna design our levels? I mean, Blender's just so much better than Unity for doing this stuff.
I'd rather make objects like this and drop them in. Like maybe this one is too big, but I'd much rather. Yeah. Fuck, the turret's aiming at you is really dire.
Oh, they're waiting for me.
Well, and that they look at. They don't actually like pick an angle. They like aim up.
And then I think mortar targeting is gonna be messed up because I think. Oh no, it kind of. Oh, it is messed up because it like, I can actually hit over here.
Yep.
Because I think what it's targeting like the zero elevation rather than raycasting down from the sky and
That's
finding.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But really, I think doing artillery is what you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
From here.
Ah, that's rad.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
I mean, should standard shells? Oh, it's like illegible. You can't see the.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Should they fall? It'd be kind of weird. Do they have gravity? They don't.
No. I would like our. I think I want most of our shooting to occur on a flat plane.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I don't know. Like what? Well, okay, so what happens in this situation? I think they just shoot flat, right?
I think if you're on the ramp, you get the advantage of aiming at half height things. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Yeah, yeah. I think we need to resolve all shooting as if it's happening in 3D space,
Mm-hmm.
but limit how the tank can shoot up or down.
Yep. Yeah, strong agree. Cause like they are just so willing to fuck you up right now. I love it.
Bastards. I don't think I can hit him from here.
No. Huh?
Barely. There's not really any splash damage, unfortunately.
Yeah, we gotta get that in there. Mortar needs to be a little meatier.
Yeah, I think the rockets too. Right now, they're not very fun to shoot with. So,
But they look cool.
but I mean, this is cool gameplay. Like, I really don't think you should be allowed to drive over the edge.
I think you're
Driving
right.
over the edge is no bueno.
I think you're right. We'll have to design these. I mean, we should see it with the wireframe on there soon too. So
Yeah.
nice. All right, save that terrain
Well,
in there.
should we just keep it in there?
Yeah.
All right. How would we wireframe this?
Same way wireframe everything else. Duplicate the mesh, apply wireframe, delete some nodes. So I actually have a thought for this shit too. I think that we should not have inset.
Yeah.
I think we should have dropped new faces in there because we're gonna have to like deal with those vertices in the wireframe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, in general, when you model, you do not want duplicate topology like that. There's like actually even a thing.
Mm.
Um, there's like it's like detect
Well, sorry.
geometry, or there's like ways of cleaning it up that in an automated way. But
Cool. Well, go back to the wireframe version of this. The hell?
oh, I'm in object mode.
Oh, okay, gotcha. It's the diagonal edges I want to get rid of. Like, not the fact that there's duplicate geometry, but the fact that we are going to draw those diagonals on our wireframe mesh right now, which I don't think we need to do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So if insetting's not the right thing,
I think you should shift duplicate the face and then scale it by a unit and drag it to the corner.
yes, that's the right thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it's weird. It's weird because we're modeling where you see every edge, even the invisible ones. So it's like not actually some tools maybe don't work quite the same way.
yeah, and I am somewhat curious about doing the screen space edge detection again.
Okay.
But that's a ways away. Like, I'd have to figure out how to actually make that in a shader. I'm just morbidly curious. Were I to add a wireframe, what it would look like. Let's turn off X-ray view.
Oh, you're in edit mode. It won't show up.
Yeah, it would look like this.
Uh huh.
Pretty rough.
A little rough.
Yeah, because having to like go through and like, especially with complex geometry, this isn't even complex. It's not like it's high poly, but like
Right.
having to go through and like clean up the wireframes every time you want to do this is gonna suck.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna really suck.
Yep. I agree.
But with screen space stuff, it's gonna be hard to do multiple colors. But I have a half an idea on how maybe I want to do it. So
I am determined for you to figure the thing out because you're gonna love it when you do.
okay, well, fantastic.
Nice.
I guess we'll continue later in this week.
Good shit. All right. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. See you later.